All right, so one of the things that's been on my goddamn mind all week, I want to talk about the podcasting landscape and overall what the business of podcasting looks like. And this is just based on what I know for now, right now. And for what I know right now. So number one, podcasting is audio, right?
Yes.
And the reason I keep thinking don't be fooled is because I think a lot of these people are fugazi in this game. I think we're clouded a lot by
the idea of what it is.
No, I think we're clouded a lot by what we just hear people say. We did this many views, we did this many streams, we did this many downloads. Look at our YouTube. See, now one of the biggest things is like with podcasting, we really can't see your numbers like that,
No,
right?
we can't.
I did notice on Spotify, it does look like they have that over and under 1,000 thing, though.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
They might.
It's like a little leaderboard, but it's probably something you could pay for too. So we don't know. We don't really charge.
I don't have access to that. I'm not.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
Free Spotify.
No,
only.
somebody does. I just don't.
But
you know. Yeah.
it's probably
Somebody.
a couple people.
You said what?
It's probably like a couple people.
I think it's a lot of people. I think it's the people who are fully tapped in. We're not fully tapped in. We're in North Carolina.
Yeah.
We're still YouTube creators with podcasts, even though we do have the audio platform side. I think Rory has that. I think Charlamagne and them have that. I think Joe Budden has that. I think everybody who's I think Barstool has that. I think Adam has that. I think everybody has it. It's just we're not.
And before, the only way that you were getting into podcasting if you was already somebody in another field. So you're bringing your audience to podcasting. Like, we're kind of cultivating what we have on YouTube and trying to transfer it into like the digital, like just audio. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit different. Like, we're coming into it without all the prerequisites of like being fucking famous, being under Wendy Williams and shit, like shout Charlamagne and shit, you know? It's a little bit different, but
there's no credentials here.
Yeah, but what's that got to do with what I'm saying?
I was about to say, what was you saying? But I thought that was where you could continue.
No, it's not where I'm going. No,
Okay.
no. So where I'm going is a lot of these people align to us. I think some of the things that are happening in podcasting is the same thing that happens in the music industry. If y'all watch the Russ interview on Flagrant, that was actually one of the better episodes they did this year. Yeah. But he was pretty much talking about how labels, and it's a common knowledge to buy your streams in podcasting, it will be buy your downloads, right? For the audio. And then everybody knows that you can buy views on YouTube, but it's a risky game because YouTube has gotten a lot smarter and you can lose your channel. And Sloth is the prime example. We know he's lost at least one channel from that. So it's a game that you can play on YouTube, but I think it's a easier game that you can play on Spotify, because they haven't really caught on to the whole streaming farms thing.
No, they haven't.
And in the music industry, we've already, J. Cole even has the line where he said niggas is faking their streams, you know?
Yeah.
So this
They're
is
probably preferred. Because
Yeah.
everybody posts that end of the year wrap up with all the numbers. That's a good look for Spotify.
Yeah. And I know some people, they get irritated, I think, as well, when some of us podcast critiquers like us and other platforms, we might look at the status and the health of your podcast and try to judge it strictly based off of the YouTube numbers, which at the end of the day, that's not technically correct, but it is a good gauge.
An indicator of any engagement can help.
It's a good and it's a bad gauge. Now, I don't know what streams or downloads you're actually getting for audio wise, but let's say you're getting 50 to 100,000. I know that's going to be good for an advertiser. And based on what I've seen, the money that you get off of YouTube AdSense is minuscule compared to the money that you get for actual ad placements.
Yeah.
Now, everybody's not qualified for ad placements because a lot of people don't actually have real people, real fan bases. So it's one thing to sign to a company, which is why when Rory takes his audio and they strike a deal with this 70, I can't remember the name of the company. It doesn't really matter right now in the context of this conversation, but when he takes the audio part of his business and signs a deal to lease their audio, they have real people and a real fan base they can bring over, which means when I say type in this promo code, whatever, there's a conversion on that, which means the advertisers aren't wasting their money on that.
Yeah.
I think in that last boom of big podcasters,
They lost a lot of money.
when exclusivity was, they thought, the best deal, to just flood them with advertising. I don't think those promo codes were going at the same rate that they were cutting those checks. So people were getting these big ass checks, and the promo codes that we needed to enter in to show that real people are actually buying these products were not equaling up. So they realized they lost a lot of money in that. And I think there's still some people riding off the high because we just got you as the podcaster who just got the big bag check. You got the big bag. You don't have to worry about what that back end is. And you should worry about that. One of the things Rory said in that interview was fan bases are profitable. Not, I can't remember what he exactly, do you remember what I'm talking about?
Podcasts aren't profitable, fan bases are.
Exactly, that's what he said. Fan bases aren't profitable, podcasts aren't profitable, fan bases are.
Yeah.
That's a sentiment that's always been the case. I think there's always ebbs and flows in business to where something new happens, and there's always a certain level of finesse when you're dealing with a corporation. If they want to throw me $50 million or $20 million because they think they're going to recruit because a couple articles come out saying podcast is about to be the next boom, then I'm not going to say no to them making this goofy mistake because I'm going to cash that $20 million.
We have no risk.
I have no risk. That business
you
is
think
taking,
this going to work?
Yeah, that business is going to take that risk.
Believe
now, some of these people are recouping, but I think we're seeing podcasts. This is also going back to our clip, what podcast might fail. Any podcast that was attached to some of these big corporations, if we don't see them being able to re-up with that corporation or move into another corporation or just go completely independent, I think that means those promo codes to what they pay them do not add up at all.
Not much,
at all.
Exactly.
That was not my fault. I did my best to support the promo codes.
Yeah.
I got at least 3 orders of Bluetooth thanks to 𝔓𝔦𝔐𝔬𝔑 and Schultz.
Yeah, shout out to Schultz.
I want a sponsorship as loyal as Squarespace.
Yeah.
They've been with Brain Idiots for 10 years.
Yeah.
Shit is, I'm pretty sure our first website was off of Squarespace.
It was.
Off of Brain
I
Idiots.
wonder why.
The other one I'm working on right now is like
codes,
that too. But the thing is too, what he was saying was like a lot of the podcasts that have already failed are primarily there's not many podcasts who are going to fail now because the ones who are still here have fought through a lot of that shit. You know what I'm saying? He was saying a lot of the ones.
Yeah, we're getting to that point.
We're getting to that point where it's like
there's no middleman. Like it's just.
It's like the people who didn't re-up properly on their shit, they're already kind of falling to the wayside now. So we're getting to that point where only the real troopers are going to be here for real.
If you was looking for the quick buck, it's over.
I think one thing that wasn't
wanted
mentioned.
the gold rush.
I think one thing that wasn't mentioned. So I would say podcasting in totality, we have seen majority of the ones that are going to fail. I think there is a new bubble though. So we can say the sports podcasting, that's a big bubble that's booming right now, right? That we didn't have to deal with. When Joe brought up like Up With Smoke, they were the only ones that we were really had. That's all we really had. I mean, for years.
All the smoke.
Sorry. But it was like a couple sports podcasts.
Sprinkled.
It was.
But they were the main ones.
They were the main ones, but
they were retired players predominantly.
But
they set the tone.
We only had, let's just say 10. I can't name all 10 off the top of my head, but they kind of just held it down. But in 2023 and definitely in 2024, we're gonna have like 500 sports podcasts that pop up.
Maybe, potentially.
Possibly. But long story short, I think they're going to go through their boom.
They are.
And their boom is going to hit a little different. And the only reason is because they're attached to sports betting.
They got legs to stand on.
That's the only thing. When you're dealing with that gambling money, that always hits different.
It hits different
than a Kellogg's ad, or whatever.
Even the content, this is a rise of a new category. Because like you said, we had sports podcasts before, but it wasn't this elaborate.
Exactly.
It wasn't the niggas in the locker room doing it.
Yeah.
It's
so
a different angle now.
There's a lot of sorting out that still needs to happen on the sports side. In general, the overall concept that they were talking about in the show and that we're talking about still remains the same, So that's one point that I wanted to just kind of like lay out there. The second point is what?
You laid it on real thick.
I'm sorry.
That was
like some Murphy's pomade.
I'm sorry. And then this is all week. So before we just continue I can go for hours on this, okay? But I was trying to figure out how not to just dominate. And just like, where do I insert the question so I can loop other people in? But I got to get this shit off, though. You know what I'm saying?
I thought 4 jokes, but I was like, I don't want to kill the
I was like,
just let him rip.
There's just so much shit on my mind. I'm like, because then I'm
the
now
state of podcasting in general.
It just overall the whole landscape, the state of it, what's actually happening. So then I'm looking at then I'm looking at these people's YouTubes, right? And I do know that some people get offended or some people get upset when you judge the health of their business off of their YouTube. But one thing that the YouTube does is it gives you it gives us, the random person, transparency to what the engagement is.
Some social proof.
Yeah, some social proof.
The engagement side of it.
There's
And it's
too
one
many-
of the
yeah.
it's one of the most for podcasts. That's where you watch podcasts. It's either like Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. It's pretty much top 3.
Yeah, can you write down first of the market? I don't want to forget that. That's
I
what
got
that's where I'm going after this.
But did I say a bad word? I
Yeah.
was
So
looking at it.
no. But I just want to make sure I just kind of keep where I want to go.
Yeah.
So when I look at somebody's YouTube, some of you niggas' YouTube comments is looking real ugly. Period. When I look at your social blades, your social
nasty.
blades ain't real. You
Rusty.
know.
Hair in
you're-
'em.
Yeah. And when I look at somebody like us who have never paid for a fake view on YouTube in a day in our life,
Ever.
Yeah.
then I just put yours next to mine, it doesn't look the same. You have a lot of gaps. You have a lot of negative thousands of views, and we're talking not even negative thousands of views. We're talking negative millions of views, nigga.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
And I've tried to account for everything, bro. I've tried to account for maybe there was a video on your page that somebody technically owned. It lived on your page at one point. It was like 16 million views.
Or
You
it's-
eliminated all by yourself.
why
I
you-
I was about
tried
to say.
to.
Why you use the exact number? You know what I'm saying?
Because
about to
I'm
say.
still 2 mil, and I'm
Talking
still
about somebody specific.
and I'm
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
2 mil off. You know what I'm saying? So it's just I've looked at a bunch of people like this. You know what I'm saying? Some of y'all, Sloth's fucking social blade looks better than y'all, and that's scary.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's nasty.
Yeah.
That's scary,
They
bro.
don't even shave.
Yeah,
That's
nah.
scary, bro.
It's nasty work.
That's scary, dog. You know?
It's a treacherous game.
And I don't like that shit.
And he cheats.
I don't like. I really
Yeah.
don't like that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I want the worst person to be. I
Yeah.
want Sloth to be doing the worst.
Yeah.
And when I look at some of y'all social blades, he's actually doing decent compared. Even though I know some of those might be
Because
fugazi.
it's most
Think about
fucked up
that.
because it's
Yeah.
like, how is the system not catching this? Right? That's where it gets
Exactly.
How
fucked
am I
up.
catching this?
You
How
losing
we
a
doing
race
this?
to a
Like, yeah.
57-year-old man.
It's like, what the fuck? The system's really against
It's
niggas.
all
Like,
it's all a scam.
Yeah.
It's just all a scam.
And that's another thing too. It's like y'all talk big, and there's a lot of lying that a lot of these people are doing for us. You know.
in real time.
Let me just go into the first of the market thing. And I think this is what helps condition the lie, and this is what helps keep the lie going. There's a lot of podcasters that we have now that are OGs in the game, and they might have had a previous career. And 9 times out of 10, the main reason that their podcast is actually relevant is because they were first to the market in their genre. A lot of y'all are living off of, and there's nothing wrong with that. To be fair,
That's how you do it
Coca-Cola and
sometimes.
Pepsi.
Yeah, that's-
like,
Exactly.
That's a lot of
Yeah.
industries
Yeah.
that they
it's,
were
it's a lot of
Yeah.
that.
the biggest and they lasted the longest.
But just because you're first to the market does not mean you have a quality podcast. That's the biggest
Also
thing
true.
that needs to be
course.
said.
Those things aren't
If
mutually
people don't
exclusive.
have
they're
if people
not
don't have
mutual-
options, it's just like
If they don't have options,
Yeah.
and if Tax Stone is the first gangster that we heard behind the microphone, he was the king of podcasting for a reason.
and he sets the tone. The
And on
barometer
top
is
of that-
also good.
No,
You
no,
gotta
he,
be good.
he happened to
Yeah.
actually be good. So he had both. But I'm saying the person who could we think filled the next void of the gangster podcast, and are they as good as Tax?
It wouldn't even feel real, and then
Yeah.
it would look stupid because we see where that leads. Obviously,
I was about to say
True, but it doesn't. It doesn't. When I say gangster, your gangster could be retired.
okay,
I'm not
yeah.
talking about like
thinking active participants.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Tax took it way too far. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
But
yeah. Sure.
I'm
much
just
gangster, not enough
I'm just
podcast.
saying somebody who has
Gangsta
that.
pod.
I would say $1 million worth of game is one of those
Is one of
people
those,
that
yeah.
slid into that. Even though Wallow,
Math a little bit.
Gangsta pod.
I would say math more so than $1 million. worth
Nigga,
of
I'm
game.
taking that white dude who just talked to criminals over Gillian Wallow.
the white dude who just
No,
talked to
1090
criminals.
Jake?
Nah, that white
Mark?
dude who just be like talking to criminals like, yeah, so how'd you sneak
I
1,000
know, who you're
kilos?
talking- I know exactly
He
what you're
talks-
talking about.
Lex Friedman.
Nah, y'all
I
name-
know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
I know
yeah, that
exactly.
dude. But Gillian-
Freeway Ricky Ross. went
Yeah,
there.
he talked to him. But you think Gillian Wallow is a gangster podcast?
I think
Or they
Gilly's a
just lean
gangster.
in.
and
Jail
I-
stories.
They
Street
lean
appeal.
into that.
Yeah, Gilly's a gangster. Like, or Gilly Tax put him into the game.
Yeah.
That's something that they both collectively said. Tax taught us the podcasting game. Gilly's a G. Like Gilly's a gangster, right?
Yeah.
And Wallow's a failed
not-
gangster.
Yeah, essentially, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but they have a nice balance, right? But Tax went away. It's the Jay-Z and Biggie thing. A lot of people say Jay-Z would not be who Jay-Z is if Biggie didn't pass
Pass
away.
away, right.
You know? when something's hot, we can look at 504 and then Pop Smoke.
You got to pass that torch.
You know, when
You got to move out the way.
No, when there's a lack in the market, or when something gets taken from the
It gets
market,
filled.
the next thing gets propped into that position as first in the market, even though it's second in the market. But we're always going to view it as first in the market
Because it is.
and I do. And outside
Humans
of
have
that,
fickle memory.
And outside of that, I do think there's a lot of podcasts that are benefiting off of that, because I always have strong critiques for the 𝙿𝙾𝚂𝚃 podcast. I don't think it's the best podcast in the world, but I think they capitalized off first in the market. I also think that they brought culture to Barstool, and they were able to capitalize off a low moment. I think they were capitalized off of a sticky situation that the dude was in.
Portnoy?
Dave Portnoy.
Yeah.
And they brought culture and I'm not racist no more.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They was able to capitalize off of used to being good.
Exactly.
Because they had built
the show
real
was good.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. I'm glad you said that. So it doesn't seem like, I think now it's not.
Yeah.
But when that guy was there, the bald head dude,
Dev?
I think it is Dev. I think it is
Yeah.
Dev. The show was actually good. When Don't Call Me White Girl didn't have that long of a run there, but
it was cool.
I mean, but the show was so good that even her being plugged in, that was its own era.
It wasn't no
That's
ads every 2 minutes.
Yeah, they wasn't selling U-Haul insurance.
Nigga
and
deodorant.
So
was a good era.
but there's a couple podcasts. Joe Budden became the first rapper to officially transition into podcasting. First of the market, but he's also great.
Good.
He's
Yeah,
also the
yeah,
best.
yeah.
But he was the first.
Yeah.
No rapper, especially somebody like Joe Budden, who's respected amongst his peers. We know who Joe Budden is. Even if he doesn't have 100 million hits, Joe was respected. Fully dive in, even though he's flirted with it before, doing morning shows at Hot 97 and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Podcasting, period. He was the first one to make that transition.
Full transition.
Full transition, and
Full
this is
stop,
what I
this
do.
is what I do, yeah.
And I retire from rap shit.
Yeah. And I'll never touch a mic again if it's not a podcast.
Full
mic.
transition.
Full transition, and
Yeah.
there's
Homo
other people,
blockers.
not Gillian Wallow, Nori and EFN. You know, that's another one. Nori.
They doubled down for real.
Nori got the opposite effect though. On the microphone, he's not the best. He loves to cut a nigga off, but everybody loves him. And he's able to get stories out because he was the artist that we all loved. He had several hits, but another first in the market thing where the quality of the show can go down, but that's just where our eyes are going to go first because they've been there for so long.
It's an honor to get cut off by Nori.
I was about to say.
As him
Exactly.
spitting across from you 5
Yeah.
feet.
Exactly.
Throw some champagne on it.
Exactly.
Fucking
Exactly.
disrespected by Nori.
So,
But celebrated at the
So
same
you're
time.
saying basically all these niggas that you named, they just got too comfortable. They forgot where they came from. They
I
let victory
think-
defeat them.
I don't think he's saying that they got too comfortable. I think he's saying that a lot of the position that they have right now isn't based solely on merit.
Exactly.
It's partially based off just
They
like
got there first.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
real estate.
I don't want to marginalize all the work they did. Yeah, like they was first, they're smart. But it's still, they were good at one point. Like
Yeah.
everybody
They had
that
to
we named was like
sure.
pretty
Yeah.
good at one point.
No, for sure.
Maybe, I don't know about Nori.
And it's another
Nori,
thing.
that nigga was
Well, one of the
always
reasons that I'm
a
bringing it up
range.
is just because these are also successful businesses,
Yeah.
right?
They are.
Whether I tune into them weekly or not, but that doesn't mean that there's no room for critique. So if there's a trash episode that comes out and I shit on the trash episode, the backlash that I might receive, I don't give a fuck about, you know? Because just because of who they are does not mean they can't put out a shit product.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying that.
Yeah.
Don't be fooled by first of the market performance. First of the market, separate first of the market and performance, essentially, is
Name
what I'm
them.
saying.
Who are these podcasts?
I named 2 already.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Okay, I forgot
Yeah.
about that. $1 million worth of game, and you said
Gilly,
the same.
But to your point,
drink
Jay,
champs.
I will
Drink
say,
champs.
to your point, there is still an avenue of people who were first to market but failed that we don't even know.
Yeah.
So we got to
That's-
give them some credit.
you
but
have to
at
give
the
them
same
all
time,
the credit.
Oh, yeah.
You do have to hold them to a standard. If you're going to be that, then be that.
Then be that.
Then be that.
And
You know what I'm
Joe
saying?
is the only-
and hold that in high regard.
precisely white
You know
man.
what I'm saying?
And Joe Budden is the only nigga who got in that position and actually stayed.
Anytime my
and,
black brother.
and kept that mentality.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Like a lot of these niggas, you know, they saw a check. It's like, all right, what's a couple more ads, you know? And that's how it goes. Like, what's a couple more
math
bottles
thing-
on the table?
Let's
The
not
math-
tell
Now
the
you
stories.
alcoholic.
Yeah. The math thing bothers me too because he was the first. He had a first of the market advantage in terms of battle rapper. going podcaster.
Yeah.
And barbershop.
And being successful at it.
And buying the first bots.
Yeah, barbershop, I
Wait,
guess.
Other than LeBron.
I'm not there yet though. But in terms of just battle rapper turned full podcaster.
Well, you said barbershop.
Yeah, I was just naming the shit he was first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Took
about
it
to say
literal.
LeBron. Math might have been. Yeah, he might have been before LeBron.
Oh yeah, the shot.
He was
Yeah.
before LeBron. That's crazy.
Hell no, he wasn't. I think
LeBron took
was
Mav's
first.
idea.
Did he?
Dead ass.
But that wasn't a
feel like
podcast. That used to come out on
That
HBO.
was a TV show. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It was a TV.
But
If
even back
anything,
then-
Ice Cube did it really first.
God,
God.
fuck.
with the movie.
Yeah. He talking about the movie.
Barbershop setting, but like politicking for real.
Yeah.
That's real life. That's not.
I need to rewatch that movie. I feel like
It's
he's a
real
villain.
life.
But even with Mav, like his podcast was pretty good in the beginning when he had that black dude with the dreads. I forgot his name.
Big nigga.
He's still there.
Little
Oh,
chubby dude, but
yeah. We can go. Let's go over the math real quick.